Hi, and welcome to Northwest Brew Talk. I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Michelle Rizzo.
And this is episode number 30. Each week we promote the Washington brewing industry by talking to those people involved and drinking Washington beer. With almost 300 breweries, we try to highlight as many as possible every episode. If you are new to the show, we suggest you check out our back catalog with some great interviews and lots of Washington beer. On today's show, we have an interview with Bellevue Brewing, our brew news and views, and local music from Full Moon Radio.
If you have any comments or questions, send us an email to nwbrewtalk@gmail.com. We're on Twitter at nwbrewtalk and on Facebook at facebook.com/nwbrewtalk. If you like the show and want to support us, why not become a patron? With a donation, we offer everything from guest hosting the show to a copy of our upcoming book, Washington Beer. Head over to nwbrewtalk.podbean.com for more details. To start the show, let's open our first beer.
Okay. First beer tonight is Kolsch German Ale from Chuckanut Brewery in Bellingham.
Chuckanut Brewery is located in Bellingham. They've been open since 2008, but the owners Mari and Will Kemper have been in our local craft beer community since 1984 and have helped establish breweries all across the world. The restaurant and brewery is open 7 days a week, and they serve lunch and dinner, and they have a nice outdoor patio space, which we got to enjoy one sunny evening. And of course, they're family friendly. So make sure you check out our interview with the Kempers in episodes 5 and 6.
Yeah, that was a fantastic interview.
And find out some history behind them.
Yeah, there's like an hour-long talk with them, and that was great. This is a very light beer. This is a Kolsch, so it's we're going to check it out now.
Chuckanut's Kolsch German Ale has won 11 awards. They describe it as very pale gold, bready, lightly fruity, effervescent, intense clarity.
Yeah, very, very light, but it's got a great malt flavor.
And the ABV is 4.5% and 22 IBUs.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, you look at it, honestly, you would think that it was a mega light of something. But
that obviously tastes much better.
That is a good beer. There's a lot of flavor in there. And definitely doesn't taste like something from a 24-pack. Now on to the brew news and views.
There is another new brewery long in the planning, almost ready to open in Tacoma. Gig Harbor Brewing is owned by John Fosberg, and head brewer is Bethany Carlson, who previously worked at Ram Bighorn Brewery. Originally planned to open in Gig Harbor, Fosberg said, quote, "We searched for space in Gig Harbor for almost a year. The harbor has a lot of excellent retail space, but not a lot of warehouse space with sewer access, which is what our business plan and budget called for," unquote. So they found a location in Tacoma. Their original beer lineup also changed based on ingredient availability and the hot summer weather. The brewery was scheduled to open on Saturday, August 15th, but a major electrical problem postponed it. We'll let you know when it opens, which should be any day now.
All right. There does not seem to be enough beer festivals in this state. I'm being facetious, of course. There's nearly every weekend, especially during these summer months, there is another one. This Saturday, August 22nd, is the Tumwater Artesian Brewfest. Artesian water wells are what originally brought many people to Washington to open breweries. Leopold Schmidt found the water at Tumwater Falls perfect for brewing what would become Olympia beer. This festival will feature 40 breweries plus wineries and cideries at the Tumwater Valley Golf Course in the shadow of the former Olympia Brewery. It's the third annual event and costs $20. Visit TumwaterArtesianBrewfest.com for details. Okay, we've also talked about mega beer and the effects it has had on buying craft breweries. But Anheuser-Busch also is the second largest distributor in the country. They recently bought 2 beer distributors in Colorado. One of the companies distributes Breckenridge, Odell, Great Divide, and others. Now, how will this affect the market? The president of the Coloradan Craft Beer Association, Steve Finley, said, quote, "It remains to be seen how this is going to shake out for all craft brewers," unquote. Not good news for craft brewers, I would say. If you have an opinion on this, feel free to post on our Facebook page. Thanks to Scott Pelton from BellinghamTapTrail.com for this story.
In April 2015, Cody Morris of Epic Ales and Gastropod in Seattle announced he was opening a new restaurant and brewpub in Seattle called Mollusk. In July, Morris and head chef Travis Kukl announced that their new chef would be at Gastropod. It was just announced that they've changed their minds, and on September 11th, 2015, Gastropod and Epic Ales will be closing their doors so they can concentrate on their new brewpub, which is scheduled to open in October. We met with Craig Christian a few months back as he was working on the new Rooftop Brewing location in Queen Anne neighborhood of Seattle. They originally opened in 2013, but outgrew their location and shut down in 2014 to find a bigger location, hopefully with a roof. Well, they found it, and after much work, they have opened. They opened last week, and the rooftop deck was open for business. Check them out at 1220 West Nickerson Street in Seattle, right near the Ballard Bridge.
That's right. All right, so cancer sucks. It's a terrible disease that kills people and destroys families. I know, as in 2009, my dad died from lung cancer, and the following year I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. I am a survivor, but Barb Murphy wasn't. She and her husband Tom spent many hours at Boundary Bay Brewery in Bellingham. Barb died in 2013 after 33 years of marriage. Boundary Bay created Barb's Beer to benefit the nonprofit cancer education resource called GRACE, started by oncologist Dr. Howard West of Seattle's Swedish Cancer Institute. GRACE is a one-stop clearinghouse for the latest in cancer research, connecting patients with information, doctors, and each other. To date, Barb's Beer has raised $10,000 for GRACE. It's available at Boundary Bay and La Fiamma in Bellingham, as well as Belltown Pub, Serious Pie, and Tuta Bella restaurants in Seattle. If you see it, buy a pint. It's definitely for a great cause. And that is this week's Brew News and Views.
Welcome back to Northwest Brew Talk. If you want to submit news to Northwest Brew Talk, send us an email to nwbrewtalk@gmail.com. Or if you've not yet subscribed to our podcast, why not do it now? It's free, available anywhere you listen to podcasts, including iTunes, Podbean, and Stitcher. If you like us, a review or rating would be really appreciated. But make sure to tell your friends about Northwest Brew Talk.
All right, now let's go and talk to John Robertson from Bellevue Brewing. Here with John Robertson, Bellevue Brewing. You are the founder.
Yep, I'm the one crazy enough to start a brewery, the first brewery in Bellevue's history.
So, what made you want to do that?
Gosh, there's a lot of reasons. One is, I guess I love my town. I grew up here, and when I was probably about 7 years ago, I was looking for something different to do other than commercial real estate. I wanted to help out a friend that was an owner in another Washington brewery. Wanted to grow hops and get into the hop industry, and kind of started from that approach, and realized that it's a very tight market. Land isn't really traded that openly, and the land that was available was so rolling that there's no way you can make it viable. But we kept talking, and ultimately decided to open a brewery in Bellevue. We looked at the map, and there was just a glaring hole. There wasn't really anything there. And my business partner had been in the industry about 20 years, and I decided that we should put a concept together. And so we did, and it took us, we started talking in 2009. And by 2010, we had formed the company. We didn't open until the end of 2012. So one of the worst economies in most anybody's memory.
Yeah. So you came from a business aspect.
Yeah, that's really my focus.
Right.
I love beer. I'm a professional craft beer drinker.
Okay.
I like to joke with everybody. You don't want me brewing your beer. You want our first class Tony Powell brewing your beer. Tony does a great job. But yeah, I kind of come from banking and commercial real estate and a more analytical background.
Right. So, what did you decide to? Was there any focus on like what type of beers, or were you just going to kind of?
Well, yeah, we I think that there are a lot of breweries out there doing really great work, and because there are so many, there are a lot of breweries, in my opinion, that are focusing on what I would just call crazier styles, a little bit more, out of bounds stuff that is exciting to the marketplace. And what I saw missing was what I call fairway beers. Beers that are perennial favorites, and the people that were brewing those, I think they were focusing so much time on being part of the hops arms race that I didn't see a lot of those beers being produced very well at any great level. So we decided to take more of an English approach than a German approach. So instead of brewing lots of lagers and pilsners, we went with the ale approach, and I thought that there was a big, I thought a really great gateway beer from yellow beer to craft is an ESB. And so we basically chose our yeast and chose all of our beer styles around the ESB, and built the whole program around that. So that gives us our pale ale, our oat stout, our ESB, our Scotch ale, and of course our IPA. And the other thing we wanted to focus on was brewing beers that paired exceedingly well with food.
Okay.
And for us, in our vernacular, that means balance. Mm-hmm. And so I think that we brew some of the best, most balanced ales in the market right now, and sales would support that.
Okay, great. So what size brew house do you have?
It's a 20-barrel brew house. We started with 120 barrels of fermentation and 40 of bright, and now we're at 160 and 80. And by October, we'll have doubled that again. We'll actually add 200 barrels of fermentation and 40 barrels of bright space. Okay. So should get us up around 6,000 barrels of production.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
we're at about 3 right now.
Right. I know you bottle. Mm-hmm. Now, how far do you distribute?
Right now, we're just inside Washington.
Okay.
I'm working to open Hawaii and British Columbia.
Okay.
And we'll do that hopefully in the first quarter of 2016. And then kind of get our legs under us with that. And, one's an international export, even though it's Canada and it's right over the border, a couple hours away.
Right.
But there are certain things that affords us in working with the Department of Commerce that will help us in the next growth phase, which is Asia.
Okay.
So we've been approached by distributors in South Korea and China, Japan, Taiwan, Bangkok. Yeah, I'm missing a couple of the friendlies over there, but there's a huge expat community, and
okay,
they're digging the craft. So
yeah,
we think it's a viable market.
So instead of doing the Oregon, Idaho, you're going Hawaii, British Columbia. What's the reason for that?
Well, a lot crystallized for me when I was down at the CBC. I happened to talk to a guy that I think is really smart, and he's an analytical guy. He was with Northrop Grumman.
Okay.
And his name's Kenny. He's one of the owners of Mad Tree in Ohio, and super smart guy, like wicked smart, like finish your sentence smart. And essentially he opened a month later than us, and whereas we're up to 3,000 barrels, he'll brew 19,000 this year. And I thought, that's amazing, first of all. Their liquid's got to be good. I didn't have a chance to taste it, but so you assume that that's in place. So why are we at 3,000 and why is he at 19,000? Our organization, we've got a lot of skilled people in our team. I presume he does as well. So what's the difference? And it was really clear that this market here is so hyper competitive, and it's also very inclusive. So we welcome beers from Oregon and California and damn near everywhere that craft beer is made, and I think that makes Washington brewers, I think it keeps them on their game. Whereas other states that are a little bit more protectionist and kind of brew and consume their own beer within their state and not a lot of outside beer coming in, I don't know if that's a good model. I guess we'll see. Of course, I'm talking about Oregon. A lot of great brewers down there, great beers. But I think the dynamism we have up here it's special. And so anyway, what was the question?
Yeah, why Hawaii, British Columbia? Instead of,
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, let me get back on track. I had a lot to drink last night.
It's all right.
So, yeah, the reason being that we can compete in markets outside of Washington much more effectively and where there is growing demand than we can in our own backyard. Not to say that we're not resoling our shoes every week and getting out there with our samples and selling a lot of beer in state. We certainly are, but at the end of the day, there's opportunities, and we don't want to pass them up.
Right.
I think Asia right now is it's defining itself, and I think the early players are going to be the stronger players.
Okay.
So that's why we want to be there. And I'm a dual citizen with Canada, so I have to be in.
Oh, okay.
I have to be in BC.
Okay.
Or I'll get a lot of flack from the family.
Okay. Well, that's a good reason. So now in like for Asia, that would be kegs you'd send over there?
Yeah, we're working with Rarick Pacific right now, and we're using their pub kegs, which is a kind of a one-way, no reverse logistics keg, and we're not getting any pushback in this market at all. So that gives me confidence we can send those to Asia, to Hawaii, to Canada, and continue to expand with that vessel format.
Okay, great. So
bottles as well, and
we're going to do bottles too?
Yeah, we're going to be canning probably by the end of August as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Seems to be the way things are going, and I love the protection it affords the beer over glass.
It is, easier for people to carry around.
Absolutely, yeah.
But now, did you bottle from the time you opened?
Everything we've done has been about a year ahead of time.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't even plan to distribute until our second year. So we got as far as, I think it was July, and we had so much demand for the product that we started self-distributing. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That was we got to March and started distributing March of 2013, and then we enlisted Click Distributors around July, and great people over there just didn't have a fit with the culture, and so we moved over to Colombia, and we found that culturally it's a better fit. Organizationally, it works better for us. And so we started bottling. Gosh, when did we bottle? I think September of 13 we started bottling. We weren't supposed to bottle until, 2014 at some point. So we've been doing everything ahead of schedule, which it's challenging when you put a pro forma together and business plan, and you kind of think about how things are going to go. You have all these expectations, and it just it just doesn't always work out. And
well, this was a positive way.
Well, yeah. Luckily, we weren't stuck with a cooler full of beer, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So all of that's been very good. We're very grateful for the people that support us, and
nice.
Try and give them a lot of value.
So you look at doing specific styles, like you said, like ESB and stuff. Not going to look into doing any of the crazy stuff like you.
Well.
Sour
crazy is a big category.
Yeah, I guess it depends.
Sour right now, I think for the guys that do it and have mastered it, they're leading that charge, and I'm comfortable to let them do that.
Okay.
Bacteria and yeast are two different things, and right now we've got a bacteria-free brewery, and I like it that way.
Yeah. So, I think you've given me a couple of the goals of the brewery. Obviously, internationally, and looking at definitely growing the brewery.
Yeah.
Do you see it? Right now, do you see it at a certain point? Where you're going to be?
Yeah, I have a sense of where things are going, and just like our pro forma and blowing that thing apart, I'm sure that all the ideas I have about where we're going are going to get blown apart, and if history's any indicator, it's all going to be for the positive.
Yeah.
But we just try and stay nimble and the balls of our feet, and but these are the markets we want to go into for personal and business reasons, and so we've been really fortunate to work with the Department of Commerce and in preparing our international business plans and these sorts of things. So they're the level of service that's available that I'm pretty sure most people don't know about, it's quite amazing, and most of it is free. And so we've gone to Exporting 101 down in Fife. I think that was on June 4th. Had a day-long seminar down there and really learned a lot. Made a lot of good connections, and Export-Import Bank and WUSADA and WIOT and all these different acronyms that represent different government organizations. It's a it's a little mind-numbing. There's a lot out there.
Yeah.
So, but ultimately, our facility, I guess from my commercial real estate background and having looked at the industry before we got in, I realized that a lot of breweries get out there and they plan for survival. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a noble goal. And but we had a little different approach. We planned for success, and so the size of our facility, we got a 6,000 square foot brew house, and once that's all built out, by this time next year, we will be brewing about 11,500 barrels. Okay. And by that same time, we should have at least a piece of dirt, if not another building under contract to get in there and produce a whole heck of a lot more beer mainly for Asia, but also for our market here. And we may go down into Oregon. We may go to Idaho. I mean, I'm not saying that we're not going to. It's just, I think you have to, especially with Oregon, you have to be very careful about how you enter it. I mean, there's a lot of good breweries here that are trying to get down there and having a lot of trouble. Yeah. So, we take that seriously, but we also have great liquid. So we're confident in that way, but probably more planning and a little bit more cautious approach how we enter.
So how did you get together with Tony then, your head brewer there?
Well, Tony had worked for my business partner Scott Hansen down at Fish Brewing for a number of years, and when Scott decided to leave and come and help me form Bellevue Brewing Company, we first asked Tony to come with us, and at the time Al Triplett was down there helping to streamline operations, and Tony declined. It really broke our heart. But the reasoning was sound, and I totally understood it. He was working with one of the true heroes in the industry. And then Tony went away to Germany on vacation for a week or two, and came back and found that Al had resigned and had moved on. Al's in more of a consulting capacity these days, and kind of a gun for hire, and he goes out and puts complicated stuff together like only Al can. And I think it was when Tony realized that Al was gone that he gave it some second thoughts and came back to us and said, "Is the offer still open?" And we said, "Hell yeah!" So get your ass up here. And
was that before you opened?
Oh yeah. It was before we opened. And so Tony came aboard, and so Tony's doing a great job. He's really he's one of the most instinctual brewers that I've met in I guess 5 years I've been associated with the industry, and we call him many things, but one thing that I like to think of him as is the hop whisperer. Tony is able to just in a magical fashion blend because the market is so challenging for hops with contracts and spot and all of that sometimes having the right hop is we just don't have it. So what Tony's really good at is going out and identifying the hops with the right components and bringing them in and putting them together in the right quantities and replicating hop aroma and flavor profile. So nice. So he's very, very good at that, and he's just a super nice guy too. Yeah. Very, very humble.
So are these all his recipes?
Absolutely. Yeah. So he's come and developed all of our flagships. We've probably brewed another 25 or 26 beers since we opened that are in our seasonal kind of categories, and we're coming out on or before July 4th with our very first Pilsner.
Oh, okay.
Bohemian style, which Tony and Scott and I, we love that style, and so we've actually got 2 tanks of it right now. It's probably going to become our 6th flagship.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, it's. I think there's a lot of crossover right now with craft industry, kind of accepting more lager and Pilsner styles, whereas maybe a few years ago it wasn't as fashionable. So I know that in our tap room we sell beers from all other suppliers. We've got 6 taps dedicated to other beers in addition to ours. So we use that to fill in our portfolio where we're missing styles like porters and what have you. But we sell a lot of Pilsner, and people seem to be really supportive of that. So we figured it was time to do our own.
So is porter one that you're not interested in doing right now, or?
I think if we did a porter, we would. We've talked about this quite a bit. We would probably prefer to do a Baltic porter. I had one of those not too long ago. Well, hell, it was long ago now. but it was great divides.
Right.
And I thought that was one of the best beers I had had in a very long time. And I think they did a smoked version. It's a smoked porter. Not a fan now with my palate more kind of educated. Not a big fan of the smoke component. So we probably wouldn't do it that way. But
right.
But yeah, there's lots of beer styles out there, and Berliner Weiss is another one that's kind of experiencing some resurgence. But we're pretty cautious in the beers that we produce. All of them have to be commercially viable. I asked Tony to do three things: brew aromatic beers, brew balanced beers that play well in the sandbox with food and what have you, and they have to be commercially viable. I don't want a cardamom chocolate guava blonde, for example.
Hard to pair food with that, too.
Hard to pair food. Yeah, you have to be in three countries at the same time. But honestly, it's there's a market for that, and we're just not that kind of brewery.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, did you guys enter any beers in the competition?
That's a Tony Powell question.
Okay.
I don't know if we did or not.
Okay.
I know that we've got a couple entered in the GABF. We're entering our ESB this year. We're entering it in the American ESB category, and then we're also doing a really hop-forward amber, and we're going to enter that in the amber category.
Okay,
so,
great.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you think of the current market and just the way it's growing, especially in Washington?
Well, it's hugely competitive, and like I said, I think that's good for the marketplace. It gives beer consumers lots of options, and that's really in a functional, healthy, dynamic market. That's really what you want to achieve. But from the supplier side, it makes things very difficult. I can remember not too long ago, maybe 7-8 years ago, where tap handles wouldn't change so often. Beer styles from those breweries would change. The tap handles would stay.
Okay.
And so it wasn't so much what we see nowadays, which is rotating breweries, not just styles.
Yeah.
So it makes it very challenging. And I don't know, I kind of see the pendulum swinging back and a little bit more. I don't want to use the word loyalty because it's not really the issue. It's all the venues they're trying to get people in, and I understand their challenges and all of that. But I think that building relationships with breweries by having, not ordering just 6 barrels all the time and ordering half barrels and 50 liters, and the support that can come along with that. I think that I see the pendulum shifting and venues getting a little bit more selective in their long-term support of different styles.
Okay.
So, but it's hugely competitive, and there's a lot going on, and I think it's one of the greatest times to be in the industry, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. Well, John, thanks very much for taking the time with us today.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you to John for joining us today. Great interview and good brewery. We'll be right back after a local music break from Full Moon Radio.
by Full Moon Radio. You can check them out at fullmoonradio.bandcamp.com, but they did just break up a couple weeks ago, so if you like their music, make sure you listen. Don't think you'll be getting anything new from them for a while unless they get back together.
Yeah, or maybe they'll end up in other bands. So
yeah, there you go.
We'll see. It was an all-girl band from Olympia.
Ah. If you want to have your music played on Northwest Brew Talk, make sure you contact us today.
All right, now let's try another beer. This time, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, we had Georgetown Brewing. And this week, we've got a growler of African Amber from Mac and Jack's Brewery. All right.
Mac and Jack's is a production brewery located in Redmond. You can purchase kegs and samples at their brewery, but they do not sell pints. And they have no brew pub to visit, but you never know. That could happen in the future. They also don't bottle, but another thing that could happen in the future. Okay. You can find their beer in many places on tap in Washington, Oregon, and Idaho, and they have been open since 1994, so they've been around for quite a while.
They are, and they're, again, one of the top 5, I believe, breweries in the state, and this is a very dark amber-colored beer. Got a good flavor. Pretty malty again.
The Northwest's original unfiltered and dry hopped amber ale. African Amber's pioneering and innovative style is proof that drinkability does not have to be achieved by sacrificing flavor. This beer erupts with a floral hoppy taste, followed by a well-rounded malty middle, finishing with a nicely organic hop flavor. Locally sourced 2-row grain and a blend of specialty malts give their amber its rich taste. Further complexity is achieved by leaving the beer unfiltered, providing exceptional flavor, as well as giving their amber its unique cloudy look. Lastly, they actually place a bag of fresh, locally grown Yakima Valley hops in each keg, creating what has become the original cult classic Northwest Amber Ale.
Interesting. I did not know that, but that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's got a good flavor. Again, both of these have a very good malt flavor to them, both of these beers tonight. Yeah. A little different, and they're both good.
I want you to get me fresh beer. You serious?
Now!
Welcome to Fresh Beer. This week's Fresh Beer is from Holy Mountain Brewing in Seattle. It's actually 3 new beers. On Friday, August 21st, the Sear, the Ox, and Barrel Number 7 will all be available. The Sear is a hoppy Brett Saison. The Ox is a citrus farmhouse ale, and Barrel Number 7 was one of the first batches of beer brewed at Holy Mountain last fall. Each beer is limited, and they open at noon, so you better get there quick.
All right, that's right. And you know what? That brings us to the end of this week's episode of Northwest Brew Talk.
Make sure you tune in next week when we chat with Strong Arm Brewery.
This show is produced and edited by me with engineering help from Michelle Rizzo.
If you want to contact us, you can email us at nwbrewtalk@gmail.com or give us a call at 541-595-TALK.
Until next time, I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Michelle Rizzo.
Stay hopping, my friends.